gosh, 14 years maybe. Different, mostly half marathons are my favorite. I've done 3 marathons, triathlons, but half marathons are where my heart is. I feel like it's a great level of fitness, and it doesn't take over life. As you marathoners know, it takes a lot of time to do it properly, as well as the half marathon. But all of your goals, whatever your goals are, Tom, myself, Yvonne, your whole team is here to help you reach them as safely as possible and as easily as possible. But it takes effort and it takes some work. I've done a fair amount of coaching in the past with Moms in Motion at half marathon teams with some core strength training teams. And all of my half marathon teams have been, there's always a strength component to it. And it's a huge part to your healthy training process. So, and this is my coworker Yvonne.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And go ahead and give you a little bit of your background.
Okay, let's see. This is my running partner. I've done several halves, probably got more serious into running within the past 7 years after finishing up graduate school, and time was more of the essence. But definitely a lot of experience in helping people who running has been their first time, coming seeing them in through our clinic out, and I'm based out at our Elite clinic most of the time.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We see runners are our bread and butter. I mean, we've seen you guys through a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff you can control for ahead of time. So it keeps you out of our office as much as we'd love to see you. But if you can keep it on the front end, that's where we'd love to keep you. So, a couple of things, particularly with newer runners. What do you pay attention to with your body? Things are going to hurt. You're loading your bodies. You're straining things. You're pushing your boundaries. When do you listen to it? When do you say, yikes, there's something the matter here, or is it something you can train through? Typically, after a long run, as your mileage starts to build, you're going to be sore. Your joints are going to be sore. Your muscles are going to be sore. That should go away. 24 hours, maybe 48 hours of some muscle soreness, it should be pretty much gone by then. You should be recovered. If it's not, and things are lingering, things are getting worse, things are coming on mid-run, and they're coming on earlier and earlier, something's going on. That's the time to listen to it, and we've got to step back and figure out what's happening. Ice and the anti-inflammatories are really a runner's best friend when needed. It's nothing you want to live on, and hopefully you don't need to go there. But if you're healthy and you're not really having any troubles, that's the best ice bath ever if you're down at the water. After a run, go jump in the ocean up to your knees, take your shoes and socks off, and it's a great way to just manage low-level inflammatory levels anyway. So I'm always a big fan of that. How to avoid these things are pretty basic. You want to have a good warm-up before you get into before you start your run. We'll talk more about that. Shoes, big deal. Have the right shoes for your feet. Santa Barbara Running is a great resource for that. They know feet, they know shoes. So, and then
they do a really good job of doing an enough prep. They'll try you, and they'll watch you run, walk.
And then you try them out, and if there's not one pair for you. Try on 3 pairs, 5 pairs. You'll find the pair that fits, that feels good. And they die. They will break down during your training season. You'll want to replace them, but don't replace them on race day. You guys know. Cardinals, don't try anything new on race day. And then along with proper training, which you're getting here with Tom, and then on top of that, stretching and strengthening. And those are the key elements. It's not just about running and adding up the miles. You've got to take care of your body. This takes maintenance. And so you've got to put into it and give it what it needs to help you get through this. One of the things that Tom and I had spoken about what to cover was warm up. As far as a warm up on your track days, it's really easy to get your warm up in. You know, you've got that built in. But on your long run, you're going to just go off and whatever your time is. You're like, okay, it's after work. I got an hour. I'm going to go take my run. What do I do? How do I get ready for it? At least that's when you'd want to do at least a dynamic warm up versus a static stretch. There's that debate, dynamic versus static stretching. Dynamic warm-ups are the ones you want to do before you work out. It's going to get your blood going. It's going to start getting your legs and your muscles moving in the direction, in the motions you're going to use them in during your run. So couple of my just easy favorites are hip swings. It's just something to balance on and just swing it. Just sitting here in the parking lot waiting for the group to show up. Get warm, get your blood going. Like, even just 10 with the knee bent, get your hip motion opening up, and then let that leg expand, and then you bring your toes up. And then you get a little bit more hamstring, a little bit more calf. And it just at least opens you up. And then you've got your blood going a little bit, and then you can go into your, start up into the slow, progressive warm up on the run itself. You don't want to get up out of bed or after work and then just start stretching statically. You're not going to get the benefit out of it. The static stretching comes after the runs. The muscles are super warm, you're loose, you're going to get a much better stretch. The other side of static stretching is that it's a cumulative effect. It's something you want to do on a daily basis. When you're warm, to make those actual changes in your tissue, you're going to get those, the changes will last. But it's a cumulative thing. So it's not just a quick, and I'm out, calf stretch and then move on. Static, 20 to 30 seconds, a little bit of a longer hold, alternating sides, 2 to 3 times on each side, as you're, cooling down after you run. Open things up, and we'll go through the groups that are the best ones to hit, I think, for running. Okay. Okay, so let's start talking about a couple of stretches. Basically, it's the ground up. What are you hitting? What are you using? My lovely assistant here. Calves are, of course, huge. Any of you guys with plantar fasciitis, foot and ankle pain, all of you really, but particularly for you guys, calves are hugely important with running, as you know, and they get tight. And so you've got to keep them loose. So there's 2 calf muscles, the gastrocnemius, which is the big guy, right? And then your soleus, which is down lower. And the soleus is one that often gets overlooked. And everyone always goes and they do their calf stretch, and that's great, which is good. But it's the second part that's super important. So go ahead and do a soleus stretch.
Soleus stretch, you're going to be, with your legs, going to be a little bit more bent, and you're going to be turned in to get it a little bit more into the soleus.
And the soleus is the low part of the calf. Underneath the bulge of the upper calf.
And that's pull-up.
And then it's the low part. And that's what happens. That gets super tight with runners because we're not getting a full heel strike when you hit. Where their foot flat. Some of you are probably up on your toes a little bit. So you're not getting that full extension. So that soleus gets really tight. So that's key to get into this low one. After that, you want to work your way up a little bit. Hamstring. You use a tremendous amount of hamstring when you're running. So, hamstring pump.
Alright, so hamstring pump. But you're going to be here, you're going to want to, hips will be straight. You want to make sure that you're not hiking up or down, but you're just going to grab behind the back of the leg. The leg will be at 90, knee above the hip. Foot will be flexed, and you're just going to pump it up. You can do it 2 ways. You can do it this way, or you can keep a relaxed foot, and then once you straighten it out and feel that tension, you can give a couple little pumps through there.
And the foot pump is what's so key about this as well, is that it's not just the hamstring you're working, it's the sciatic nerve as well. A lot of times, you don't have to have sciatica and leg pain per se, but the nerves are going to get tight too. Because one of the things that I struggle with is I'll be running, my calves feel like they're super tight, and I'm working trying to stretch them out. It's not my calves, it's my nerve tension that's tight. And that'll leave you feeling like you've got tight calves, or tight hamstrings, plus it's going to shorten your stride, because to open up, you have to have a fair amount of nerve tension, of nerve mobility. So that hamstring pump with the foot, and if you can try, if you lay back, you'll see the difference between just a hamstring stretch versus that nerve stretch with it. So take a sec, because this one's actually kind of a good point. On your back, straighten out one leg, hold the other leg behind your knee, point your toes away from your head. Like point them over, like ballerina style, straighten out your legs. So you get that hamstring stretch in the back of your leg. Now bring your toes towards your head while your leg is extended. Does that change the stretch? Do you guys feel that?
And make sure your opposite straight leg, you want to press the back of the hamstring down into the mat. Toes should be up. A lot of times the knee will kind of bend up or the hips will kind of torque. So make sure that you're staying somewhat neutral at a point there.
Yeah.
There you go.
And if you feel that stretch intensify when your toes come towards your head, That's your nerve tension. That's your nerve. So that's the other component to this that you want to work on. So because it's a little more intense, you don't want to hold it. Just rock your foot back and forth, or you can flex your knee back and forth. Either one of those will give you that neural flossing at the same time you're stretching the hamstring. So it's a great 2-for-1. I can't stress the neural mobility component to this as well as the muscular flexibility part. All right, so moving up along again, the glutes. You're using a ton of butt when you're running, and if you're not, you should be, and we'll talk more about how to do that. But the glutes are going to get tight, and those of you with hip pain or back pain perhaps, this is something you're going to want to look at. So it's that classic, and I have pictures of this for you guys, that figure 4 position. You can do it standing, you can do it lying on your back. You can get into the yoga pigeon pose if you want to
put it up on the table.
On a table. Picnic tables are my favorite. They're great. You can just get the leg right up there, and you lean in and just get that stretch right through the backside of your glute. If your glutes are too weak, they're going to get tight. Once they get tight, they're going to shut down, and you're going to just collapse 4 miles and 6 miles in. When you really need them to start working, they're not going to be there because they're going to be in spasm trying to hold you together. If they get stronger and flexible, it's going to take you way further, way more comfortably.
How do you do that in that back?
You can actually still lay on your back and even bringing them knee across the chest and then towards your shoulder, so you don't have to hold so tight. You can even still get into it that way too. Good question. Quads, right? Obviously, you guys are using them. So either a standing quad like this. My favorite is to bring it forward. Find your friendly Rhodesian Ridgeback to balance on, and take it forward. Okay. Also great for the picnic tables. Torso on the table with your one leg up, and then you can just stretch it out, relax it, or stretch it out. As you take your pelvis and you split your pelvis, you'll get more of a stretch out of it. So you may find if you're standing like this, you can get your heel to your butt, no problem. But once you take that pelvis and bring it back, it winds it up more. You get a more effective stretch out of it. And the last stretch is the hip flexor. If you're doing speed work, you're doing hills. San Francisco, that Nike, you're going to get your hip flexors, you're going to get involved with that. So you want to keep them loose. If they get too tight, they're going to impact your glutes and your hamstrings, and that alone can shut you down. So hip flexor stretching, you can do one of two, well, multiple ways, but yeah. So let's drop into a knee.
So a kneeling one would be here. The main thing with the hip flexor stretch that you want to watch out, for me, I'm a pretty hypermobile person, but a lot of times people will really get an arch into their back, and so they're keeping the hip flexor. So you really want to tuck the pelvis under, square the hips off, but you should feel a stretch in through there. So this is the kneeling version in through there. This should be pretty good stretch. It feels really nice.
All right through the front side of your hip. Nice good pelvic tilt. Puts it on that pre-stretch if you feel it.
Straight over the hip. You can intensify by a little bit more, just by reaching the arm up for a little bit more extension into there. It's a good way to do that.
So those are the stretches in a nutshell. Great for TV. Great for, at the office. Take a phone call and standing. You can stretch out your calves. I mean, so you don't have to set necessarily time aside for this stuff, except for after a run, of course. But you can just, those are the muscle groups you just want to cycle through and be sure that mobility is there. There's not a magic number. It's not how flexible do I need to be. Not everyone's going to be able to get their heel to their butt or their leg all the way parallel to the ground. It's symmetry is what's key. Right equals left. That's the most important thing. You guys good with the, yeah?
How long do you have to be before you start doing those things? Like if you're at work and you're sitting at your desk, do you want to just get up and start doing those, or do you have to?
I'd probably say, take a walk, go to the bathroom, go get a coffee, go, get up, walk around a little bit, and then do them, just so you're not totally cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, in going into easy, like she said, not like into like a jumping down ballistic movement. You want to kind of ease into it, and it may fluctuate throughout the day or where you are. Like, what did I just start sitting down for an hour? Or am I now into hour 3 or 4? And you want to, with the stretch, kind of push that envelope of that like discomfort, but you shouldn't be in like a point of tears and feeling like something's going to rip or tear. And I think that's the thing that I always see people get overly aggressive. They're like, okay, well I got 3 seconds, I'm just going to crank the stretch, and then they start to almost injure themselves doing things that way.
It is possible to overstretch. So moderation is key. Feel like you're doing something but not hurting anything. Shouldn't make you sweat, shouldn't make you cry. So. And if something's hurting and it's too painful to stretch, stop it. It's time to ice, anti-inflammatories, break that inflammatory cycle, and then try to get back into stretching later.
Do you have a recommendation about standing or sitting at work?
Mix it up.
Okay.
All of one is not great. Yeah.
A lot of times people like set timers at work, but I definitely think kind of breaking up that cycle, especially as you start to log more, you see a lot of people that have like desk jobs or hip flexors already have the propensity to be really tight. Same thing with backs, but like you said, every time you take that water break or every time you take that bathroom break, you don't have to do all the stretches at any one time, but I think just like integrating them throughout the day, I think breaks up any of that cycle. And I think people tend to do, it's more, think of it like as like a lifestyle integration thing. I think overall health, that is probably the best thing. People tend to be more successful that way.
Okay.
It's like kind of classic excuses. I didn't have enough time, but just kind of sprinkle it or layer it throughout your day. I think you'll be more successful.
Definitely. All right. Now let's talk strength. So the stretching really is a daily thing. If you're running, you're putting in so much energy and effort with your runs. Take care of your body and reward it. So it's worth the other 5 to 10 minutes of stretching. And again, do it throughout the day. You don't have to set that time necessarily aside. But it really should get done because that's what's going to help keep that you mobile. The second part of it though